Real Talk the podcast. We just keeping it real. Inspirational motivation is something that you can feel. Authentic, I know you can tell. Hosted by Kimberly Sherrill. We got food for thought. Come help yourself. One of a kind like nobody else. Yeah, wanna see you mentally grow in a major way. Play this back like day to day. See all that stress and doubt, just watch it fade away. There is nothing you cannot achieve. Good vibes, yeah, we got that. Kimberly, go ahead and talk to him. It's the Real Talk podcast. Let's go.
Hello, beautiful listeners. Thank you for joining me for this episode of Real Talk the Podcast. I'm your host, Kimberly Sherrill. I'm so happy that you decided to join me today. Whatever day this is that you are listening to this episode, just know that you are so greatly appreciated. I have with me in the guest here today none other than Miss Patrice Rivers. I'm so excited to talk to her. If you do not know who Patrice Rivers is, I assure you that by the end of this episode, you're going to get on the internet to look up more information about her and how to connect, because she is phenomenal. So let's not waste any more of this time. Let's get right to it. Hello, Patrice.
Hey, how are you?
I'm delightful. How are you?
I'm good. Thanks for asking.
Of course. So go ahead and introduce yourself to the beautiful listeners. Tell the listeners about Patrice Rivers.
Yes, so I am an author of 8 books. I am also a writer. I am a blogger, and I own a magazine called Versify magazine. And also I'm the owner and creator of That Riverz Gurl brand.
Oh my goodness, you have so many jobs. I love it. I love the hustle.
Thank you. Thank you so much.
So you currently reside in Virginia, correct?
Yes. Yep. Grew up in Virginia.
So what was it like growing up? What were you like?
I guess independent, because I was the type of person that, like do everything myself. I didn't really hung out with a lot of people. So that's kind of, I was a fun child, always loved playing with my Barbie dolls in my room and putting on my creative imagination. You know how some kids do, using their imagination. I was kind of quiet. I was never outgoing. I was a quiet person, to be honest. And I'm the only child, so that makes things a little difficult.
And that was going to be my next question. I was going to ask, okay, do you have siblings, but you were an only child and you just kept to yourself? You kept that only thing going.
Yeah. Well, as I got older, I kind of wish for an older sibling, but just kind of hard when you don't really have a lot of people to hang out with, but, hang out with my parents or my grandmother. They both reside here in Virginia as well. So, but, it's being independent. I think it's a good thing in a way, keep out of trouble, at least try to keep out of trouble. Just doing your own thing.
You know what? Older siblings are overrated. I have an older brother. I'll sell him to you right now if you really want it. I give him a hard time because he's my mom's favorite child, but
Oh, wow.
Yeah. So you were quiet. So would you describe yourself now as quiet?
I still keep to myself. I'm not really outgoing. I guess some people are outgoing, but me, I kind of keep to myself. I mean, if I talk to someone and I'm feeling a great vibe, then of course I'll conversate with them. But I just it goes off my vibes, whatever. But just being independent, relying on myself. And it's kind of good in a way because even with my business or doing my own projects, I don't have any interruptions or anything extra. So I think it's kind of good. But I do network a lot with other people on, social media. So that kind of helps with my business relationships.
I would not expect you to be such an introvert, considering that you were a mass communication major and you went to an HBCU. I didn't even think they allowed introverts in HBCUs.
Yeah, I hung out with some people, you know how it goes when you first on campus, a new person, well, that's a new person, just being a freshman, and just kind of getting familiar with your surroundings, and I didn't know what to expect. I had some pretty good experiences at college at Virginia State. I hung out with some people, but I never considered them my friends. So they were just people I hung out with at college. But I mean, the college life, it was pretty decent. I learned a lot in my major, not enough to where I'm at now, but it gave me a boost. Being a part of the school newspaper, writing for them, it kind of opened up my eyes to journalism
Okay.
and interviewing people.
Okay, well, that's great.
Yeah.
Now you say you have published 8 books, you have a
Yes.
magazine, and you have your the River Girls brand. What was your
Yes.
very first project post graduation?
First project. I guess back in 2012. So I graduated in 2009. And I kept writing poetry, but I didn't really publish any books during college or anything. I wasn't thinking like that. But back in 2012 was my first actual book being published, called A Collection of God's Word and Motivation, which is an inspiration book of poetry. So that was my first actual book project that I published.
So, what was that journey like of actually putting your poetry into the universe? You know, it's available now to strangers to read,
Right.
and friends, and all of that. You know, what was that journey like?
When I first published my first book, I was very, very excited because that was my first, actual official book. So I was very excited. The process, because I hired a publishing company. I didn't know any publishing company. I didn't have any marketing tools. I wasn't utilizing Facebook or social media, when I got out of college. So the whole experience was very new to me. And I just kind of did things on my own. Went to Google some publishing companies, came across Westbow Press. And honestly, my experience with them, it was okay. But I felt like I can do it myself because it wasn't the best. It was expensive, but it wasn't like the best of best. But, basically, I felt like I did all the work. The only thing they did was put it together and publish it for me. But I think that project was good. The whole writing process, I was working at the time at a temporary agency. So I wrote all my poetry there at work. It only took me like 3 days, less than a week to actually write all my poems for the book.
Wow.
Yes.
Wow. And here I am impressed with myself. If I get all the poems I want in a year, you could churn out 52 books at the rate that it takes me to write all mine down. I love that drive though. That's really great.
Yes, definitely. I love poetry because it's like an extra outlet. Like you're in space and you can just write how you feel at that moment. So writing poetry for me since I was 15 gave me that outlet. I wasn't the best at expressing myself, verbally, but on the paper, yeah, that's when I found my actual inner self creativity with poetry.
Yes, poetry is definitely that way. It's purposeful writing. And that's why I tell people, I'm like,
It
when you
is.
look at a poem, every word that is there intentionally. So
Exactly.
there is something behind it. There's some meaning there. And poetry is also a very safe space to express yourself. So you can be,
Definitely.
very depressed and sad feeling about something.
Mm-hmm.
Writing about a leaf blowing in the wind, and that is your safe space to be vulnerable without the transparency that sometimes we are hesitant to share.
I definitely agree because a lot of things, even with starting in high school writing, I was in some things I was in a vulnerable, miserable position, and I just took to poetry. Actually, I got started writing poetry through a friend in high school. She used to draw and sketch and write poems. I used to read some of her work, and that kind of inspired me to write poetry because I started writing short fiction stories at the age of 9. So to write poetry at the age of 15, and I was very creative and the way I use my words. Like you said, you can't really correct poetry because the language, it's people's language. You can't really edit poetry.
Right.
So, I still, feel like poetry is my first love. I mean, I like writing other books, but poetry for some reason is very, very easy to write and relate to. I can just publish a book of poems in one day because I can just spit it out just like that. there's so much stuff in my mind.
Oh my goodness, yes. I'm known to randomly post and say, I heart words, and my first love of writing
Yes,
was poetry. So I can
definitely.
relate. So your magazine, Versified magazine, tell us about it.
Okay, so this is my second magazine. Um, at first, when I changed it, well, started my second magazine, I named it Black Stardom because at the time I wanted to do something just for the African American community and Black businesses. But I wasn't getting really the support, kind of. So I changed it again to Black Versity because I wanted more diversity in the magazine. But that name is still kind of sounded Blackish. So I did some research and kind of jot down, and I'm like, well, I want something diversity, something for not only African Americans, but other cultures as well. So I came up with, okay, Versify, I had diversity, so I played around with the name and I came up with Versify because I don't want the magazine just for African Americans, but I want to embrace, other cultures like Latinos and Caucasians and other ethnic groups for the magazine. So I think that's important.
Yes.
So that's how I came up with Versify magazine. It is really aimed towards business owners, entrepreneurs, and authors. Those are my target audience.
Okay.
Just to giving them that platform to share their story, and also includes different promotional opportunities and advertisement. So.
Yes, and not at all biased, but Versify magazine is all of the features and things that I have read. They are very well written. So I think that you have hit the mark at what it is that you were aiming to do.
Thank you. I appreciate it. I'm just trying to keep going, keep the ball going, because I'm trying to put out material every week, and sometimes, it can be hard. I'm working on multiple projects at the same time. So promoting other clients and then, coming up with interview questions. So it's always something I'm doing, trying to keep Versify going, even creating different flyers and promotional opportunities. It's a full-time job.
It 100% is. It's so funny because before you really become an entrepreneur, you have this idea that you want to work for yourself because you're working very hard for someone else, and then you step out and you're like, wait a minute, what you mean I have to work more than 40 hours a week? Those are the conversations I had with my boss, who is also me. I'm like, what do you mean I need to pull a 60-hour week this week? What are you talking about? Let me speak to your manager. It's funny, but you have such a great drive. I'm sure you're going to continue to excel, which brings me to my next question. So you have all of these things that you're doing. You work really hard. You're extremely focused, but you are also living with sickle cell disease.
Yes.
So tell the listeners who may not be as familiar with sickle cell disease, tell the listeners what exactly, what is sickle cell disease?
Okay, so sickle cell disease is an inherited genetic blood disorder that attacks the red blood cells in the system. Unlike normal people living, that have normal red blood cells shaped like a donut, people living with sickle cell, their cells are shaped like a banana shape or a crescent shape or a sickle shape. It's kind of like a odd, crescent shape. Actually, the disease, like I said, it's inherited. So you can't get the disease like cancer or AIDS or heart disease. Both parents must have the sickle cell trait in order for the child to have the actual sickle cell disease. So both my parents were both carriers of the trait. So of course, it's a 25% chance that the child will have sickle cell disease, the trait, or nothing at all. So I kind of fell under that 25% rate where I actually had the disease. And it affects mostly the African American community. However, sickle cell affects other regions in Central America, Hispanics, Latinos, and also India and the Caribbean. So a lot of people think sickle cell is a Black disease, It's not, but it does affect about 90% of African American descent. But it's an inherited blood disorder. And, it can be complicated at times because sickle cell affects everyone differently. Now, pain crisis and pain, being fatigued, those are all common symptoms of sickle cell disease. And a lot of sickle cell patients experience pain, and it's the worst. So growing up with sickle cell disease, I was diagnosed at the age of 1. I experienced my first crisis at the age of 1. I experienced a lot of pain really when I was younger, in and out of the hospital. I experienced my pain in my lower back, also in your chest, acute chest syndrome, where it makes it difficult to breathe when the sickle cells are, like a traffic jam and they get stuck and it causes a lack of oxygen to your lungs. So it's a lot with sickle cell disease. There are different ways to treat it with medication and that sort of thing, meditation, relaxation. But
So how do you manage, manage your sickle cell disease? How do you manage that with everything that you're doing, as far as not allowing the disease to really deter you from what your business goals are, and staying on track with putting out content and being visible to your audience?
Well, I'm blessed that my last pain crisis was back in 1999. So as I was growing up, I didn't really experience any more pain, unless it's like, minor pain. Like I said, with the treatment, there is a medicine, popular medicine called hydroxyurea, which is a chemo-based therapy that was tested in cancer patients. So hydroxyurea basically decreases the level of blood cells and create more hemoglobin in the blood. So for me, I started taking hydroxyurea at the age of 12, and that really helped. Now, like I said, everyone's body is different. So some people that actually took hydroxyurea, it made their hair fall out or it didn't work for them because, like I say, it's a chemo-based medicine that was experimented in cancer patients. So for me, that has worked since the age of 12, and right now I'm doing great. The only main symptom I am still experiencing is fatigue, which is being tired. So I kind of manage that, taking a break. And also, a person with sickle cell has to keep hydrated at all times. So drinking more fluids and, Gatorade, water. So that helps a lot. And even stress will cause a lot of pain as well. So, of course, when a person deals with stress or has pain, the best thing to do is kind of relax and kind of just, don't think about any stressful things. Just kind of relax and meditate, listen to some soft music, anything, to calming their nerves so that the pain will stop. But also, a lot of people living with sickle cell, like me, take pain medicine. So that helps a lot as well. But for me now, as an adult, I don't experience much pain. I remember experiencing many pain crises years ago where, in my chest area was congested in my back. So I couldn't really lay down flat in my bed. So only thing they did was gave me pain medicine, and that kind of helped. And I was kind of relaxed. But with me, I can't take on a lot of stress. So I have to, if I'm tired, I just take a break. And people just going to have to be patient with me, my clients, and drinking water. So that's how I manage everything.
Okay.
With everything going on.
Okay.
Yeah.
Well, it's great that you are very aware of your body, and that you have clients who are understanding of that sometimes you have
Right.
to push a delivery date by a day or so, just so that you can take care of your
Right.
health, because being in business for yourself is quite stressful. So it's great that you have avenues in place to really combat that, so that you don't make
Right.
your symptoms worse.
Right. Definitely. I was trying to stay stress free because stress is no joke. Yeah, being stressed is
I
no
agree.
joke.
Stress is a killer of many people. So
Yes.
especially someone with sickle cell. So it's great. Now you have a children's book that is
Yes.
bringing awareness to sickle cell disease. Tell us about this project.
Okay, so my first children book, actually, Patricia's Guardian Angel, was published in 2016. I just wanted to write a children book because back when I was 9, I would always write short fiction stories, children books. So I kind of wanted to do something a little different and bring sickle cell, into that book, into my vision. So of course, my character Patricia is the person living with sickle cell. It's kind of me. Well, actually, it is me. I just changed the name. And her guardian angel is her grandmother, who passed away from breast cancer. So that's her guardian angel, which I kind of made it a cat because her name is Catherine. So it's kind of cat for short. So I wanted to interpret it that, and basically let people know that even though with sickle cell and a lot of kids experience pain and they might be scared or a little stressed or worried, that they always will have a guardian angel with them. So for me, my guardian angel was my grandmother, which is, in the cat format. So she would always encourage me before she passed. She would always encourage me and say a lot of different motivational things to me. She was a strong believer. Her faith was really strong. So she was my inspiration. She lived in South Carolina. That's her hometown. And I was in Virginia. So I didn't really see her a whole lot. Growing up when I was younger, I did. So I was kind of wanting to use her in the book for that particular Patricia's Guardian Angel. Also, I wanted to bring more awareness to sickle cell and let people know what it is, and even adults can educate themselves as well. So I wanted to start a series with it. So my other book will be published in September, and it's called Patricia's Visit to the Hospital. So I definitely wanted to educate more people and bring more awareness about
Okay.
sickle cell.
I think that's great. Children books are a great way to not only educate children about things that they may not be familiar with, but it also helps to bring in a level of empathy that I think is definitely necessary with others. And not so much sympathizing, but really being empathetic to understand that, okay, if my son had a classmate who was sick, and he's naturally going to come home and ask questions. He's going to be confused. He might even be scared because a lot of
Right.
kids are afraid of someone being sick. They're afraid because that's something they don't understand. So children
Right.
books are a great way to bring that type of awareness. And I love how you have used your story to bring this awareness, and the grandmother being written in as a
Thank
cat.
you.
That is adorable. That is
Yes.
really, really adorable because
Thank you.
I think that it definitely it brings in a character that children can understand, you know, versus it being like an
Yes.
actual angel or some type of spirit or something that may frighten children away. But a cat is
Right.
something that kids are familiar with, and so I love this. I love that you are
Right.
turning this into a series. So you said that Patricia visits the hospital is coming out in September.
Yes, and also September is Sickle Cell Awareness Month, so that's why I wanted to, publish it in September and kind of keep the book series going on. I have 2 more books within the series, so hopefully I'll be starting brainstorming soon. And also, because sickle cell is not only affected in the African American community, I kind of want to write more books and series about other children in diversity that lives with sickle cell. So adding maybe a Hispanic character, in Indian character, because I want to let people know that sickle cell affects other culture backgrounds. So it's kind of a culture, type thing series. So I am
I
brainstorming
was
that
just
as well.
thinking that as you were talking about it and thinking about what you said about, how people there's this myth that it's just a disease in the black community, and it's really not. So I was just sitting there
Right.
thinking, I was like, well, what if Patricia made a friend in the hospital who also had sickle cell, or maybe Patricia to a special summer camp for kids who are living with the disease, and she makes some friends.
Yes.
Like, all of that would be so great. So I'm excited about this series. I
Yes.
think that this is brilliant.
Me too. Thank you. I'm so excited. I want to do like a superhero type thing because a lot of kids, of course, when they're scared, sometimes they don't know what to do. But just to have like that superhero, like, okay, I have that superpower to kill the bad cells, that's attacking my body. So it's, brainstorming different things like that. So I want to continue with the sickle cell, thing. And I want to write a nonfiction book about my journey with sickle cell. So that'll be out hopefully, this year I'm saying
Okay,
December.
then. All right. Okay. So before we end the interview, I have the last little round. It's kind of like my little hot seat round. It's to keep it real round. I ask everyone the same questions. And so I'm going to ask you a series of questions. You just give the listeners your honest, real answer. Okay. So
Okay.
tell the listeners a book that you have read that you found to be very inspirational or informative in some capacity.
Oh gosh, the book. I'm gonna go with Kim Cash Tate. Actually, I don't know the title. Okay, well, let's get it. Nikita Lynette Nichols, because Lady Elect. I think her books keep it 100% real, and I'm a big fan of hers. So,
Okay.
Lady Elect.
All
title.
right. So, question number 2, and this is I'm interested in your answer on this one because you are such an introvert. If you could pick anyone to be your business bestie, celebrity, non-celebrity, anyone whatsoever, who would you pick to be your business bestie and why?
All right, first person to come to mind, Michael B. Jordan.
Michael B. Jordan.
Definitely. Yes. I just like his personality. Not only he portrays himself as an actor, but he's giving great advice in the community, even with what's going on now. And, him being a producer, executive producer, whatever, his own films, he's versatile. So it's not just acting, wanting the spotlight on him all the time, but he helps out in the community and stuff. So that's the first person that came to mind.
What? And I like that answer. I like Michael B. Jordan, but it's an internal conflict for me because my nephew resembles Michael B. Jordan. So that is a little bit of a conflict when I'm watching, his movies and I'm like, oh, he's cute. I'm reminding my nephew, like, never mind, he's not. But he definitely would be a great business bestie because he has been able to continually scale his own career. And so I'm sure there would be so much that you could learn. You team up with Michael B. Jordan, we might end up with a Patricia cartoon series.
Oh yeah, definitely.
Yes, it would.
That'd be a great thing.
It would. Okay, so question number 3. Tell the listeners a training, a webinar, a conference, or some type of educational forum that you have been a part of for one of your businesses, your brand, or your book that you gained some real knowledge from.
Oh gosh, that's hard because I'm still trying to network. But there's this one particular networking event or group that meets every week. I forgot what it's called. It's a networking event, but basically it's networking with different people all over the globe. And a lot of people have gained a lot of references and, make new business connections. But I'm still working on the webinars, and because that's another thing I have to, do. So, but it's just one particular networking event I attend every Tuesday, 8:30. And just basically, bouncing off other people's ideas and connections.
Yes. So the last question is a 2-part question. Anytime that you are writing a book and ready to publish, you're starting a business, building a brand, family, friends, co-workers, everyone has some advice for you. Everyone has a little nugget that they just want to share with you for your benefit,
Yeah.
and it is called Unsolicited Advice. So, my question to you is, what is
Yes.
the best and worst unsolicited advice you have received?
Best advice is keep going no matter what you're going through, no matter what distractions may come your way. Just keep going because you have a good brand and you have a lot of potential and talent. So that's my best advice people have gave me. Worst advice, have I received any? Well, actually, I have from a former client or a client. Because she wanted her bio, I guess, to be perfect, and of course, there's not really such thing as perfection. So, I don't know. I'm trying to think of the worst. I don't think I really have a worse advice.
you,
'Cause I
you
just
don't
ignore
even
it.
take it in.
But I can't even think. Yeah, I don't be honestly. I can't even think of one. Oh my gosh, I can't even think of
Well,
one, to be honest.
that's not a bad thing that you automatically filter out the good and the bad because people want to be helpful, but
Yeah,
sometimes it's really not helpful, and you end up with those voices in your head that make you second guess yourself. Mm-hmm. Yes.
right. Yeah, I don't think. I guess people actually. Okay, let me rephrase it. Let me go back to my first magazine. I did have an experience where one girl wanted to be on the front cover of the magazine. Her pictures were professional, but then I guess she wanted me to show her the actual cover before it went, to print. So she was taking my role, saying, "Well, this is not right, and this is not right," and she was telling me how to run my job. So yeah, that was a mess. My first magazine, just being in control, and I'm the editor, and she told me how to do my
Yeah,
job.
that
So
was yeah, that did not mix
that's the
well. That did
worst.
not mix
Yes.
well.
No,
Well, it's great
that
though. You take
didn't.
everything in stride,
Man.
and I love that because you have such great energy, and I'm really an energy person. I go off of what I can feel when I'm around someone, and you have great energy, so it's great. Um,
Thank you.
so
Thank you. I
before we
appreciate
close out and give
it.
you an opportunity to tell the listeners where they can find more information on you, if you have a website, and how they can follow you on social media, and find the Patricia books.
Definitely. So you can always visit my website, www.patricerivers.com. On there, it has my book links straight to my Amazon page, so you can check those out. Download my books from there. Also, the magazine's up there too. I still gotta change some stuff around on the website, so I'm trying to link everything on that website. I am on social media, Instagram, that Riverz Gurl brand, and that's THATRIVERZGURL brand BRAND on Instagram. Also, you can follow the magazine Versify Mag VERSIMAG on Instagram, or you can just go to the website versify.style and check out more of the
Awesome,
magazine and my
awesome,
work.
awesome. Love it all. So, you have any final remarks or anything you would like to say to the listeners?
Well, I just want to thank you so much, Kimberly, for inviting me to be on your show. This has been a great experience. Thank you so much for allowing me to, share more about my books and what I do. So definitely thank you. And to the listeners, hopefully, you can check out some of my work and, download, purchase Patricia's Guardian Angel, and be sure to look out for my other books, Patricia's Visit to the Hospital,
All
coming in
right, all
September.
right.
Stay
So,
tuned.
I will just like to say that it has been a pleasure having you in the guest chair. I hope that as you continue to grow in your business and brand, that you will come back again to Real Talk the podcast and make the listeners with all of the new
Definitely.
things that you are doing.
Thank you so much. Definitely been a pleasure.
All right.
So I would love to
Well,
be back.
beautiful listeners, it is that time. I know it goes so fast. It really goes so fast. I just want to say thank you again for tuning in to this episode of Real Talk the Podcast. Please tune in. Please tune in next Thursday for a brand new episode of Real Talk the Podcast. And I just want to say again to you, thank you so much for tuning in. You could have been anywhere in the world, but you decided to be here with me. And for that, I am eternally grateful to all of you. So remember to do what, my beautiful listeners? Stay real. Tune in next week.